The boys are back together again Tuesday, August 12th, 5:11 in the evening. It is the All 32 pod. I'm Mike Giardi. Here's Will Parkinson. Of course, we are a proud member of the CLNS Media Network, and of course, brought to you by PrizePicks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in North America. Download today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 off your first 5. PrizePicks, run your game. So it's been a little while since we talked, so we've got a lot to get to. I do want to start with the Jets joint practices with the Giants. You were there. Good. You got a good tan going. A little bit of a burn. Me more of a tan than you. Just saying. Just overall impressions about, I guess, as we were talking off air, the Giants pass rush today, huh? Giving people fits.
Yeah, everyone missed me. We got a full Just Patriots episode. I'm sure there was the one guy who always calls me Parky in the comments. Thrilled. No, cameras fixed, Mike. I'm back on my computer, not from my dog-ass phone. No, I would say the Jets obviously had a lot to build on from over the weekend. So did the Giants, frankly. I think both teams came in. Giants obviously won, and it's not about the score, but Dart looked really good, and Carter looked really good, and that's they're in a win-now mode just based on the regime for the Giants, but the roster's kind of in a build for the future. If you really look at it, all these guys, that young pass rush, and there was a lot to take away from today. Abdul Carter he's really good, man. Like it's not only that he's a really good player, it's that the speed you have to, it's so evident. And Justin Fields said he's got such elite wiggle. That's the way he phrased it. And it was funny watching one of the Jets beat writers who I won't name. That's an older fella trying to imitate Abdul Carter. And Justin Fields goes, wiggle. But they had him moved on all over, Mike. They had him in traditional edge. They had him lined up over the center, over the guard. He played defensive tackle on one rep. He's just a guy who's going to be a Swiss Army knife. And
just quickly, and we were talking about this, I remember doing the film study on Micah Parsons 2 years ago before the Patriots played the Cowboys, and that was the game that the Cowboys absolutely trucked the Patriots. Was pretty much the end for Belichick and Mac Jones in week 3 or 4, whatever it was. And I couldn't get over how many different places they used him. But in particular, Will, when they put him somewhere in that center guard gap off the line of scrimmage, good luck trying to block him.
Yeah, it's an awful assignment as a center. By the time your head's up and you're moving, Joe Tippmann's one of the most athletic centers in the league. I'm not saying he's one of the best, but probably a top, 14, top 13 center. And he did well enough, but there was one play, it was he hit him with a kind of a ghost dip move, and it was over. And that defensive line, I don't know what the Giants will finish because that offense without Neighbors and Thomas today looked oof. I mean, the Jets were missing their entire defensive line and other players, and the Giants did nothing. Russ looked bad until the end. So I would just leave it at that. We're not going to talk too much Russell Wilson, but that defense alone, especially early on, if Washington's not right, and which we'll get to at the end, and Dallas isn't right early on, and some of these teams, the Giants are probably going to win a lot of those games that are just we are going to beat the ever-living crap out of you up front. And Holland looked like more of Javon Holland from a few years ago. Deonte Banks, man, I don't want to go down a whole Giants tangent. Garrett Wilson, I'll just give you this is why I always like joint practices. As much as we talked last week about where there's some issues with them, for sure. There wasn't much fighting today, which was really nice. It was a little annoying at the same time because it was aren't you pissed off? Right. But although there was a huge Superman punch while I was on the ground, I thought I was watching Bruce Buffer announce. But long story short, and tangent aside, the first opening 4 plays, they go through 7-on-7, 1-on-1s, and just walking it through for the people that obviously aren't at joint practices. Then they go to 11-on-11. Mm-hmm. 1s go, 2s go, 3s go, etc. Justin Fields was dumping it off. They, Brees and Reynolds and some of these other guys. They come out. Garrett didn't get any targets. They come out for the second one. Garrett against Deonte Banks. Garrett against Deonte Banks. In motion, Garrett against Deonte Banks. And I was like, oh boy, that's the one spot for the Giants outside of quarterback and tackle, right? Those are the 2 spots. Boy, they got to get to home from the quarterback because as good as Odebo and Holland and Newbin, they've got really good talent on that defense, Mike. Mm-hmm. That spot is so bad, transparently, that I know Drew Phillips wasn't there today, whatever. The point being, the Giants roster, outside of a few spots, I'd be like, whoa, I'm actually really intrigued. But that's
from a defensive standpoint for sure, right? I mean, Banks has been a colossal disappointment, and Daboll seems to have, and Shane Bowen seems
to say the Giants agree with you.
Yes, I would say that he irritates them quite a bit. He played a lot last week in the preseason opener. If he could play to his level, because I think you see the flashes of talent. He wasn't a first round pick for no reason, right? Like, he's a physically gifted dude. Like, he should be a dude. But I don't know whether it's focus, it's sloppy technique, whatever the case may be, has not happened. And that's when you invest a first round pick in that spot, that's a killer.
Yeah, no, I would say just taking away kind of the Jets encapsulation of Saturday night when the Jets approached that game like with the intensity of a regular season game and came out there and kicked the crap out of the Packers. And the Packers approached that like a lot of the McVay, Shanahan teams approached the preseason. I was shocked they played the starters. There's a new study out, Mike, and maybe we'll talk about this before the season and we'll kind of evaluate how it goes. But when you play in the preseason, you get less hurt. You get hurt now, and then you're back for the season. I think it's like a third of the injuries occur to guys that play in week one of the preseason specifically. So it's just an interesting trend, something we'll bookmark and earmark for the offseason and when we get bored in 9 months. But the Jets offense and defense looked really good. I thought Sauce Gardner looked like the best corner in the league, and it was 3 plays and whatever, but he tackled Mike. He looked physical. His press was angry. And then on offense, the Jets did a lot of the things that you expect them to do. Braylon Allen, with a head of steam, he's concussing guys in the first week of preseason. So the Jets used them a lot in the passing game, a lot of screens, a lot of wheel routes, a lot of different things. So that's what stood out. And I don't want to dive too much into Saturday just because it was like, it's week one, but it was an impressive showing. The one biggest thing I noticed today, Mike, and this is one of the biggest keys for the Jets, and Fields, obviously, and health and all those things. Mason Taylor had a high ankle sprain, Mike, 7 days ago. Comes back today. I'm looking around. I'm like, oh, Mason's out here. Maybe I'll just do individual. I'm really shocked he's practicing. High ankle usually at a skill position's like, I don't know, 6 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe if you're lucky. You know, if it's Tom Brady and Rodgers, yeah, they'll shoot it up. They'll shoot up the ankle before game day, but those guys aren't practicing. And then that's some of the toughest dudes you've ever seen in the league. He comes out, he runs through 7-on-7. I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. Like, it looks good. He looked like a legit number 2 option in a pass game today. One day, he looked good throughout camp, but it's one day. Maybe things go up and down for rookies. He just turned 21 2 weeks ago. But if he's going to look like that at a consistent level, their offense has so much more to offer than just Garrett Wilson, Justin Fields run, Breece Hall run. Like, having a legitimate second pass catcher, which a lot of people thought was going to be Tyler Warren. I don't know. I was really impressed by Mason today to come off a high ankle and look that good. I don't know how maybe it wasn't that severe and they, made it cool, but man, like I was really shocked to see he was practicing, let alone looking like that, fresh and agile and catching. And I don't know, it was really impressive.
That would be a major jolt in the arm for the offense, because I think when you do look at the depth chart at wide receiver after Garrett, you wonder. You
get away with one legit number 1. No one's saying that, but you need other options to do something. The Chiefs forever have been, and I'm just disclaiming, I am not saying he's Travis Kelce or anywhere close. But if he can
writing that down. But
if he can he be the 13th, 14th best? Can he be an above average starter this year, this early? Because then all of a sudden, hey, we're above average we're really good at running back. We've got an elite 1 and we have an above average tight end. Now things start to be at least, I don't know, you go up and play New England, like Jabril Peppers has to be on you all game, and that maybe takes him out of the run game, or we got to make Kyle Duggar cover. I mean, I don't know if you want to deal with anybody, but and the only other last thing with the Jets, and I know we want to move on to the Pats, Jermaine Johnson and Quinnen Williams both back at practice today. Quinnen, I'm shocked, is practicing. They were off to the side. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to dramatize it, but Quinnen has had the calf, and I think the Jets are very aware of the last year in sports. Sorry to bring it up. If we've seen a lot of Achilles, and I think that's the fear is like, let's really we need him. Jermaine had a lot of interesting quotes today, Mike. He's a quote machine. He is a dream as a reporter. He said he's a Ferrari they're keeping in the garage and all these different things. He said I I said, hey, did you work on anything specific, this offseason? Like, obviously you improve you want to get back from the Achilles and do these different things. And he's like, nah. And I was like, all right. That was kind of a weird answer. And I was like, what's your plan as your first pass rush move? Do you have something? He said, I'm going to bull rush someone and knock them on their ass. I said, okay, that's the kind of day, I was like, that's a damn good quote, man. So
Yeah.
A lot of good vibes, I would say. Generally, the Giants maybe won the day by a hair just because of how good that D-line was. But overall, I think both teams showed you a little bit of what could make them spunky come November, December.
I do want to kind of recap just a little bit the Saturday night thing, just because the offensive line was a big story in that game. And then, you have this joint practice with the Giants, who clearly, I think even going into this year thinking is a top 10 front in the league. And if Carter is Carter, this is the Carter, then that's a top 5 defensive front probably. Where do you stand with the offense? Where do you stand with the offensive line?
They were really impressive. That was missing John Simpson, who was back today as well. Simpson was, first day back. I think the Jets group will finish somewhere in a top 7 in the league as an offensive line. I don't think they'll get, unless Fashion, who takes the leap, I would say the most pleasing thing is they have 2 guys that I think could be Pro Bowlers in AVT, who's looked awesome. And then Olu's, I've seen him lose a couple of reps all summer in pass pro, and he's put on a good amount of weight, Mike. He looks like you. He's pretty beefed up. And if Membu can just be league average as a pass protector, because in the run game, he's a force, man. Him and AVT get out on the outside zone. It's like Braylon Allen running behind him. It's like there's 800 pounds running at me right now.
Good luck.
And Tittman just needs to be solid. They just their group was really impressive on Saturday. I'm curious how they look in game action on Saturday night. Can they build upon that today? Bumps and bruises. I thought, again, Membu had some struggles. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but it wasn't like he was bad. Brian Burns got him with speed 2 or 3 times. That was like, oh yeah, that Brian Burns is a $35 million edge.
Yeah.
But no, the offensive line was really impressive. And just the play design, the Jets last year had the most vanilla, boring, crappy offense for a long time, but the last 2 years specifically under, Packers defensive assistant Nate Hackett, which is objectively funny. But yeah, no, I think that's going to be a group, like, if they win 7, 8, 9 games, it's going to be because that secondary and that offensive line are top tier groups in the league, and everything else just kind of has to be, again, average, and they'll be able to be, a competitive group week in, week out. Tannenbaum had a good quote, Mike, and this is something that I think Vrabel probably is preaching as well. You can tell me if I'm wrong. Tannenbaum on ESPN radio yesterday. I think it was yesterday. I don't know. I can't keep track. Training camp, I feel like he basically said the Jets are going to be one of those teams that you play, and even if you beat them the next week, you feel horrible. And it's like, then you kind of pay for it the week following. Niners and Lions have been like that the last couple of years, where even if you get out of there with a win, it's like next week the entire team's on IR.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's definitely a big part of what Vrabel wants, the physicality, the toughness, bring that, and then, make them feel you, make them know that they were just in a fight with you, regardless of what the score is.
That's the coaches in the fight,
Yeah, well, there's that too. Before we get to the Patriots, a reminder, PrizePicks is the best. Not only do they sponsor this show and a lot of others here on CLNS, but like if you're into this sort of thing, daily fantasy sports app, no place better. You just pick more or less on 2 players up to 6 to win 2,000 times your cash. You can cross sports, talk about it all the time. Basketball, baseball, all these things are going on. Football is about to really hit, right? So you can sort of mix and match these things. You're looking at statistical. Aaron Judge is going to hit over a home run. Is he going to hit a home run? Well, if he is, it's probably set at a half. You take more on that. You can do less on runs, whatever, walks, innings pitched, all these different things. So all you got to do is just download the app, use the code CLNS to get 50 off your first $5. Again, download the app today, use the code CLNS to get 50 off your first 5. PrizePicks, run your game. So we talked about the Patriots there briefly, and Mike Vrabel jumping in. Mike Vrabel not shy with his disappointment in the turnover that Drake Maye had in the preseason game in which they routed the Commanders, and which I thought on the first drive, obviously that's where the turnover happened. But even on the second drive, the Patriots passing game struggled. That has continued in practice on Sunday and into Monday, where May should have been picked off a couple times. In fact, there's one I thought Craig Woodson had to pick. Woodson told us later he didn't. There was a mixed bag on whether it was intercepted or not on the field. Vrabel saying it was incomplete. Some of the defensive guys thought it was complete. But the bottom line is bad throw, bad decision to the wrong guy. Christian Ellis dropped one earlier in practice as well. A similar sort of vibe in the practice on Monday. They were off today on Tuesday, traveling to Minnesota, getting ready for the joint practices Wednesday, Thursday, and then, of course, the preseason game number 2 at 1 p.m. on Saturday. But I don't think it's wrong to, again, small c, concerned about the way the passing offense looks. And there have been moments, including the joint practice on Wednesday with the Commanders, in which pretty good, red zone stuff. It looked pretty good. Obviously, the offensive line continues to a little bit of mixing and matching. Morgan Moses practicing a little bit more now. Will Campbell is still, I'd say, slightly below average in pass protection and damn good as a run blocker, which I think people saw in the preseason game on Friday.
Where have they heard that from, Mike?
Yeah, I know. But I do. I wonder some about the timing. I wonder about the quality of receiver that they have. It didn't look good with Josh Dobbs and the second teamers in the preseason game. And it's sort of carried over into practice. And it's not as if we're not talking about them going up against Trish Gonzalez and Carlton Davis. Yeah, Davis has worked back into practice, but you're still seeing a lot of Alex Austin and Kobe Minor, the 7th round pick, Mr. Irrelevant. You're seeing DJ James before he hurt his what appeared to be a hurt hamstring on Sunday, midway through practice. So this isn't the secondary that they're going to roll out in week 1, the secondary that made you believe like, hey, between that and the defensive line, this has a real potential to be a top 10 defense. This is not that. And the fact that they're struggling here in mid-August, again, not sounding the alarm button, not hitting panic, not ready to jump off the Tobin, none of those things. But I think they need to – I'm not sure how they refine it. I'm not sure how they clean it up a little bit, because I do think some of this just comes down to the talent on the roster. And, other than Pop, who creates some separation with his quickness, Williams obviously someone who stretches the field, but he's been inconsistent as a rookie so far, that might be a little bit of an issue for them. And the other part of this, too, is that Diggs has leveled off since the first 4 or 5 days when he came out of the gates and looked quick and fast. And now, you know what? I've been in pads for 2 straight weeks, and I'm a little tired, and my legs at 31 coming off the ACL maybe don't feel as fresh as they did. He had a bad drop at the goal line on what should have been a touchdown, which, like, he wasn't going to get hit. He just dropped the ball. And sometimes when guys drop the ball, it is not about concentration for me. Sometimes it's just your legs, you're not feeling it. So that's something they're going to have to monitor going forward, but it has to be cleaned up. And I think Vrabel will coaching Drake very hard. I don't think Drake's getting any, boy, buddy, pats on the back. In fact, my guess is that McDaniels has to be the good cop here, because if you watch some of the interactions with Vrabel, never mind what he said after the game on Friday, he's on him. They butchered a play clock thing. The clock was getting down, and, we're far enough away you can't really hear what they're saying, but he pointed to the one play clock over here, and he pointed to the other play clock over there, and he's like, basically it was like, how did you not get that play off? Like, you have to be. And I think that's one of the things, like, he needs to be coached hard. I think we all agree on all the quarterbacks, you want them to be pushed, but, like, we'll see how he responds to some of this stuff, because it's a little different than it was last year for sure.
Yeah, I think 2 things come to mind. One, I know no one wants to hear this, and they're going to say I'm being, like, soft, this is the opposite of my personality. I think I'd give Diggs 3 or 4 days, or try to build in, maybe not play him week 2 of the preseason and build in like first of all, he's a vet, and like these guys' legs go pretty quickly anyways, and they need him more. The more we've talked, like, it feels like they not only want to have him out there, they need to have him.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'd work in give him a couple days and then kind of come back. And, like, he's shown you he's able to play week 1. I don't think that's a question. Now it's a matter of how much he can play and how consistently he can play for 17. I would consider maybe, like, working in a veteran rest day here or there at least, and just, like, the Jets did this with Tyron last year, and it didn't work out. Obviously, Tyron's body failed him, but like, hey, you're actually practicing a lot more than we anticipated. Let's give you a day here or there because you've shown us you know the system, you know the scheme, you have familiarity. Or maybe it's pulling him out of team drills once in a while. I don't know. I would hope they have a plan for him of just let's be a little cautious here with not running him into the ground too early off of an injury where you're going to get more tired anyways. When it comes to the coaching Drake hard thing, I wonder if part of it is Mike's used to, for a long time, Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee, and before people say, oh, Tannehill sucks. Listen, I understand. But what Ryan did really well was he's very accurate. He knew the offense well. There wasn't a lot of mental mistakes, and he took care of the football. When he didn't take care of the football, the Titans lost, right? They were a 1 seed and lost at home because he was terrible. My point is Drake's he's not the best with protecting the football. That's probably one of the biggest knocks on him, if not the biggest knock right now, is the turnovers were a lot last year. And again, I know everything around him sucked, and I know all of it. I literally had him ranked 22 off a season where he had a gazillion turnovers. I get it. I just think that Mike's probably sitting there going, I love the talent. I don't want to take it away from you, but we cannot give possessions away. We are not good enough on offense right now to give possessions away. And I just wonder if that's part of it. It's drilling into his head over and over and over again, Belichick tree and the whole thing. But that's also just the way Vrabel's always coached. We're going to crush you on defense. We're going to cause turnovers. We're going to be elite on specials. I'm going to take advantage 1 or 2 times a game with the clock. We're going to win these little advantages, and then we're going to run the football well, play action, and hit you deep, and et cetera. So I don't know, Mike, if that's what you feel, but I just think this is him trying to be like, dude, I love you. I really believe in the talent. I believe in the kid. I need you to know you cannot turn the football over in the silly fumbles and stuff, which I'm not saying there's been a lot, but that just has to get cut out early now before it gets too late for Mike.
So having covered the Titans when I was at the NFL Network and then still keeping in touch with some of the people there, the best players on that team will tell you that he was harder on them than anyone else because he demanded a level of greatness from them. You can't be – I go into a game, and part of my thinking going into a game is you're going to be great because you're one of our best players, whether it was Taylor Lewan, Jeffrey Simmons, Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, A.J. Brown, whatever, and that was always the message. And then even when they would play well, they'll tell you to a man. I've had them all tell me this. I think Taylor was just talking about it on the Bussin' podcast where you think you played well. Oh, I put this guy on the ground. I did this thing. Like I had 10 catches. I ran for 130 yards. The next time you see Vrabel Monday, he'd be like, got to have you better for next week. That 3rd and 7, when you got beat inside, can't happen. Hey, that incomplete that you threw when you had AJ in the right flat, man, that moves the chains. We keep the drive going. We let them back in the game because you missed that throw. Like those are the things he's constantly pushing. And I don't know. Well, I know that Drake didn't get that last year. I don't know what he got at North Carolina. Let's not forget he was sort of the franchise in North Carolina. So I'm not sure how hard they pushed him there in that regard. And we'll see how he responds. I think it's important to see how he responds because I think, look, the keys have been turned over to Mike. This is his team for X number of years. You're the quarterback and the rookie deal. You got to make this work. Not saying it's not going to work, just curious to see how it plays out and to see if Drake can reel in some of the impulses to YOLO it and say, nope, I got to eat the ball here or I got to throw it away before that puts myself in that position where the ball's coming out of my hand and it's a fumble and we're giving them the ball on the plus side of the 50. Can't do it. As you said, they're not good enough. And Mike will tell you that, and he said it often here during the course of the spring and the summer is we're not good enough to do dumb plays and think we can win football games.
Yeah, I would say
you have to get rid of all that stuff.
I'd say last thing, I'll keep it really short. Like I always text you about this, and I think people are going to take it as an insult. I think Drake has a lot of Sam Darnold in him. And I mean that in the way that he can make these unbelievable plays that are mouth-watering, jaw-dropping, whatever the
people are swearing at you right now. Patriot fans are completely swearing at you.
Sam Darnold last year threw for 4,500 yards and almost 40 touchdowns, and they were a top, they won 13 games. So it's not like and it was more of O'Connell sitting there saying, let's cut out the 2% a year game that is so frustrating. And I think you covered Drake for obviously his whole career, long career already. there's some dumb plays in there that you're like, okay, if I can just get these out, and how much I think Mike also wants to know, and I talked about this with Glenn. These guys want to know how much they can push guys. Year one, there's some like Mike could win 6 games this year, and it's not Mike's fault. It's going to be Diggs sucked, and this guy was bad, and whatever, and he'll get grace. I think he wants to know, like, I'm invested in Drake Maye the way that Drake Maye's invested in me, and I want to know, like, can I push this guy times 10? Do I need to kid gloves? Is that the way he's going to respond? I think it's maybe just a little bit of a feeling out of like, this is not Gerard Mayo's camp. This is my camp. This is my franchise. I want you along with me. Do I need to baby you? Do you need to kick up your ass? Because Tom, obviously, when Mike was around forever, wanted to kick up the ass, right? That was Tom's way of getting
until the end, yeah.
until the end. And then there's other guys that have throughout their career Aaron Rodgers, who wants to be his ego stroked and babied a little bit. And that's how I think this is Mike kind of the same way we talked about the fight last week of, you with me? You guys riding with me? You not? Or can I push you? Can I not? I don't know. I think Vrabel's doing a little bit of a mental fitness check on these guys 3 weeks into camp.
Yeah, I like that. And I think it is. It's like a little bit of a test, but you get tested every day by him and how you play, how you perform, how you deal with it when he puts his thumb on you and presses. Can you handle it? So yeah, it'll be fun. And I think these Minnesota joint practices, like, I don't know, they obviously they talk beforehand about things that they want to do and they want to get out of it. If I am Josh McDaniels and Mike Vrabel, I'm telling Brian Flores, bring it all. Every exotic thing you can cook up, throw it at us, and let's test this. Let's test this offensive line, and let's test the quarterback and his processing, identification, and does he take care of the football? Because as we've seen with this defense, they can get you in places in your head where you have sped up so much that you make foolish plays, and they take advantage of it. So this will be a great test for them on Wednesday. Let's move on to a team that I think, and we haven't quite gotten there, but I think if we had to put the odds-on favorite, Will's odds-on favorite to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, the LA Rams might just be that team, if not Philadelphia, obviously the defending champs. Matthew Stafford has yet to practice. He has reportedly been taking epidurals in his back. Now, that came out, and that's not great news, okay? There's the disc problem and whatever. But then the Rams, as they did before, they fibbed. Oh, no. He's going to work out on Saturday, and he's going to practice on Monday. So he did. He threw 60 passes or something in an individual workout on Saturday. Well, guess what? On Monday,
crunches today doesn't mean my abs are coming back.
Yeah, guess what happened on Monday? No practice for Matthew Stafford because he wasn't feeling that great. Will, their structure is good enough, and that head coach is good enough, and the talent on that team is good enough that if they have to play Jimmy Garoppolo, who is the current number 2 quarterback on that roster, for a couple weeks, 3 weeks, whatever the case may be, he's played in the league before. He's had some success in this league. He threw for 330-something yards in the regular season finale last year. He'll also turn it over and take sacks. Like, that's just part of unfortunately, who Jimmy is. I gave up the ghost a long time ago, people. Although he's still up there he's on the shelf. You can't see him. But if this is a long-term thing, and if Matthew Stafford can't be, I believe he creeped into Mike Sandoz, the Athletic. It was tier 1 of the quarterbacks at the very bottom, and you and I had him somewhere between 6 and 10, somewhere in there. If he's not that guy, I mean, this is built for this now, and obviously they're smart enough. They got another first-round pick next year, trading back with Atlanta, which God knows what that pick could end up being. But like, this was to go in this year and to win this year, and then be poised next year to turn the page from Stafford and select a quarterback. This is troubling for LA.
Couple of things. One, I asked somebody, it doesn't matter, it's not really exposing anything. Michael Carter dealt with the back last year, and I asked him pretty straight up, after practice, I said, "Hey, have you seen the Stafford stuff?" He dealt with the same thing last year with the back. It took him quite a long time to get back to even this offseason lifting, doing anything. All the epidurals, all the shots. I think you can only get 3 of them, and it's like he had all of it. And he's a DB, and it's tackling, and it's different. Stafford's problem is not going to be throwing on Sundays. he's taken a lot of shots, and I think it gets harder to get up from those shots. Anyone that watches boxing and UFC, it's when the chin gets broken up a little bit, you start going down a little easier. I'm worried about it before. You know what worries me more, Mike, and this is something that you talked about, and I know you probably are more on the right side of history than me here. The Rams were willing to move on. Stafford wanting to cash in one more time tells me, and he's talked about it. He did the Bryson DeChambeau golf thing and talked about, like, I can't hit him the way I used to hit him anymore. And, he's 16, 17 years in, whatever it is. And that's a dude that played through, like, remember the infamous separates the shoulder mid-play and is, like, screaming in pain, but he's, like, out there. I'm worried because while I think Sean can do a fantastic job of getting them into the dance, and even if Matt Stafford missed the whole year and only played the playoffs, like, the Rams are probably still a playoff team just because, we've seen Jimmy be able to do it. And, if he's kind of on a true leash with the right coaching and right talent, he's able to, like, kind of figure it out enough. I do wonder if this persists a little longer, if that's the right word. Do they start calling around and saying, like, do we need to bring in one more veteran just in case? Because not only does Matthew going to be on ice all year in terms of week to week, he won't practice every week and the whole thing, and maybe they, like, phantom IR him for 3 weeks in the middle of the year if, like, it gets to that point. Jimmy gets hurt a lot. That's where I'm almost more worried about. Is it feels like Stafford's going to get hurt at some point this year where he's going to miss some time. I'd be shocked if he plays 17. I hope he does. He's an amazing player, and it sounds like this is it. This is probably going to be his last year. Would you not be a little worried? And I know everyone's done the Shador thing, which whatever. If I'm the Rams, I'm like, can I have Dylan Gabriel, who's going to run a timing offense, and can we get him for a 7th round pick and, like, just have him as an emergency option or whatever? My point being, don't you feel like there's a little worry of not just Stafford, but also, you mentioned Jimmy, like, yeah, sure, Jimmy can he's a good, him and Tyrod are, like, they're probably better than the 32nd and 33rd starting quarterbacks, but they can't play more than 4 games in a row. I'd be a little worried if I'm the Rams of, like, going into the year with Stafford and Jimmy as your 2, I hope they're healthy guys, is a little concerning, especially for a team that you said, roster-wise, coaching staff-wise, you feel like they're as good as anybody in the league.
I wonder how they feel about Stetson Bennett. Obviously, it's been a disaster. Who's
older, Stetson Bennett or Jimmy G?
I know. So, yeah, 27, I think Bennett is. But, like, I think there was some hope there based on his final year at Georgia and his pre-draft process that, like, he could be someone that McVay could groom. And then, as I mentioned, there was stuff off the field. There's been all kinds of stuff that he's had to deal with. He appears to be in a better frame of mind, and the talk about him around camp has been that it's been pretty good. So, if they trust him, maybe that's their thinking is, hey, we don't have to go out and get another arm, because we see Stetson actually finally coming into his own a little bit and developing the system. But it certainly does bear watching, because you're right, Jimmy gets hurt all the time. So it's just, you can't say, oh, well, we're fine, we'll just go to Jimmy, he's an Iron Man. Nope, he's not been an Iron Man. He's gotten hurt, and chances are you're going to need multiple quarterbacks. Before we get out of here, I did want to, and this is sort of circling back to the Patriots joint practice with Washington, but also the preseason game. There was a great shot yesterday of Adam Peters, the general manager for Washington, with a hooded Terry McLaurin talking on the field.
The infamous hooded wide receiver during training camp.
Yes, prior to practice. And Will, I got to say this, and I just, we talked about it during the course of multiple pods here, but having seen it in person, the drop-off between what Terry McLaurin is as a player right now and what they have behind him on the depth chart is dramatic. Like, you could probably, this is probably a similar situation to the Jets. If something happened to Garrett, oh bleep, what are we going to do? Terry's not out there. Luke McCaffrey.
Fine, number 4.
Fine, just fine, right? They were giving Debo, who's apparently, there's a big puff piece in The Athletic about how he's down to 9% body fat and all these things. Debo has been through the wars, so he may be at 9% body fat now. He didn't look heavy to me. I mean, he's big. He's a big dude. He didn't look heavy to me when I watched him. He also didn't separate. He's almost, let's be real, he's not really a wide receiver at this point.
He's skinny CC Sabathia, like he needs to be a little heavier.
Yeah, it's just like I think oh God, what's her name? Nikki from The Athletic. I'm not even going to try to pronounce her last name. She had a quote about this where she said, like, he's almost in his own category. Like, he's not truly a receiver. He's not a running back. He's just like, he's a screen guy. He's quick stuff. You might line him up in the backfield, and then occasionally maybe, something happens with him down the field. But like, that's not who he is. They don't have anything there. Chris Moore had a rep in the game, a dig. Ball is right on the money from Sam Hartman, who, by the way, not a very good quarterback. He treated it like it was volleyball and knocked it down. He spiked it into the ground. I was like, no. You're the receiver. You're supposed to catch it with the soft hands, you give, and you tuck it away. He was like, bonked it to the ground. So my point being, again, I understand them looking at the Cortland Sutton deal and saying that's where you should be. You guys are similar age, similar production. Terry's a little bit better, but like, doesn't matter. You just pay him. Get him the $60 million guaranteed or something real close to it over the first 2 years of the deal. And if it ages poorly, it ages poorly. You'll be, you've got 3 more years of the rookie contract for Jaden Daniels. Like, you just got to deal with it, because I think that team's going to take a step back anyway, which you and I have talked about. But if he's not in the lineup, or if you get him back so late that all of a sudden the hammy pops or something, which we've seen happen, like, that's a disaster waiting to happen, because there is not. It's Zach Ertz, honestly. Zach Ertz is their best player on offense other than Jaden Daniels. Patriots couldn't cover Zach Ertz, which is their own problem. But, like, that's where they're at with their passing game. If it's not Terry, it's Zach Ertz, and Zach Ertz is 32-ish with a lot of miles on him.
Yeah, this is why, and I know I'm giving the Jets too much credit here. This is why the Jets needed to get Garrett done when they got Garrett done, not just from a money perspective, because I think Garrett was $34 million in a year as opposed to $32.5, whatever. He's 24 years old. It's because what happened would have happened when they got into camp, which has already happened, Mike, and seen, wow, we have a lot of number 3s and number 4s. Mm-hmm. And if Garrett goes down, we're effed. And I think the Commanders made the mistake of overstating, like, how important. By the way, Terry's the undisputed leader on the team, not Jaden Daniels' mom, and not Jaden Daniels, and not Zach. Like, it's Terry McLaurin. It's go and watch every.
And he's lived through all that crap. Like,
yeah, and he's
beloved by the fans, the media. I don't care about any of that stuff. He's just a really good player.
One of the best approval ratings he has the best approval rating in the DC metro area outside of Lamar. And obviously probably better than Lamar because he's not a quarterback. But right. This is one of those ones that's kind of pissing me off more than anything. This and Hendrickson, to me, are the two that's like, do you realize how bad behind these guys are? And they're both teams that are in kind of win now mode. Like, the Commanders went out and traded for aging Laramie Tunsil. Like, they acquired Deebo Samuel. They acquired Zach Ertz a year ago.
Those aren't moves made for the future. Those are moves made for the now.
I know Bobby Wagner will get named to be an All-Pro, and everyone will celebrate it, and then he'll be the 37th best linebacker in the league this year. But my point is, like, just get it done, man. And if you're not going to pay him, find a way. This is what the Jets just did with Quincy Williams. And I know it's not the same thing, and Terry's looking for a long-term extension. Jets went to Quincy and essentially said, we know you want an extension. We don't want to extend you right now. It's a new staff. You're 29 years old. You're about to be 29 years old. We want to see you prove it. Okay. But just to, gloss things over, we're added now a total of $4.5 million extra bucks you can make this year to achievable incentives. He feels good about it because Quincy's like, oh, I'm going to be an All-Pro. And Quincy, you ask him, I'm the best linebacker in the league.
Yeah.
So he feels good. And it's like, hey, we're showing you a leap of faith. We want to extend you in the long term, but like right now, we're just not going to do it. And then on the other side, you don't have to dish out all this extra cash. At worst, go to Terry and say, hey, man, we're going to give you an $8 million incentive raise this year. You can make $40 million bucks. And we'll have a conversation after the season. If you still feel good about it, we'll give you the 2 or 3 year deal and et cetera. Not doing that would be a mistake to me. That's just such an easy fix, Mike. It feels like, don't you feel like it's like, hey, we want to show you a leap of faith and that we want to give you more money. We know you're worth more money, but we're not comfortable right now giving out a 4-year extension to someone turning 30, or that is technically 30. Isn't that just such an easy fix? And maybe McLaurin says no, but at least you can then go to your people in the media and say, hey, dude, we offered him $8 million more to make this year, and he was going to make 33 or whatever. What's he making? 25, 26.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you can make 35 this year. You'll be the third highest paid receiver in terms of your contract. Your agent could use it. Like, I don't know. Me and you're smarter than me, but we're not the brightest bulbs ever. Like, that took 2 seconds to figure out. Why is this still happening?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if they're coming to him with that. It's interesting about that because it's a good beat that covers Washington, and nobody really has the full details. It's all sort of like, we think he wants the 60 and he wants the DK deal, and they look at the Sutton thing and say that's where you should be priced. And okay, then at least try to find a middle and go from there. But it does feel like this continues to drag on, and I worry. Like he's going to be 30. I'm not saying that he's not keeping himself in shape, but he's not playing football right now.
Yeah, but then slow start, Mike. We just talked about the Giants defense. I am not telling you the Giants are winning the Super Bowl, but the Commanders are not beating the Giants with that defensive line if Terry McLaurin is not playing. You're going to ask Jaden Daniels to be a superhero week 1, and it's like, what are we doing, man? It's just like, get this done. You're in a Super Bowl window. As much as I don't love the Commanders, like, you're a playoff team. You were a Final Four team a year ago. Take care of your own.
Yep. Do business as business is being done at this juncture. Hey, a reminder to all you fine folks out there who listen to the show. We thank you for that. Subscribe to the podcast, like, and leave a review for those watching the show on CLNS. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel for shows like this, Patriots content, league content, which we're bringing you. Also, please make sure to turn on your notifications so you know the instant a new video drops. We will come to you later in the week, maybe after preseason games. We haven't quite figured that just yet, but we appreciate you watching as always. He is Will. I am Mike. We will talk to you soon.